a stranger in the storm. The atmospheric stabilizers groaned against the howling winds of Proxima 6, their metal frames shuddering with each new gust that tore across the barren landscape. Dominic Frost stood at the reinforced viewport, watching, as crimson dust blotted out the twin suns. The storm had raged for 3 days now, each hour worse than the last. Warning: atmospheric pressure exceeding safety parameters. Shield integrity at 78% and declining, announced Vega, the outpost's AI system, its synthetic voice unnervingly calm. Calculate remaining operational time before critical shield failure, Dominic responded, running a hand through his graying hair. At current degradation rates, 17 hours, 42 minutes. Dominic nodded silently. He'd survived worse, on this desolate rock, a planet technically designated as PKX 2974, but which he'd named Proxima 6 during the early days of his self-imposed exile. 4 years alone conducting his research, communicating with Earth only when absolutely necessary. 4 years of silence, solitude, and slowly healing from wounds that had nothing to do with his body. The research outpost was small but well-equipped, a central hub with living quarters, laboratory space, and storage facilities. Originally designed for a team of 6, it had been home to just one man for far longer than intended. The United Earth Science Division had eventually stopped asking when he'd return. His revolutionary work in quantum biology was valuable enough to justify the expense of maintaining a solitary scientist on a distant world, especially one who demanded so little. A violent tremor shook the structure, followed by a series of warning alarms. Eastern perimeter breach, Vega announced. Maintenance hatch 7 has experienced a pressure seal failure. Dominic cursed under his breath. Lock down the affected sector. Redirect power from non-essential systems to reinforce the remaining shields. He moved quickly to the equipment locker, donning an environmental suit designed to withstand the caustic elements of Proxima 6's atmosphere. The suit's powered exoskeleton would enhance his strength, necessary for the repairs in the storm's punishing winds. Dr. Frost, I must advise against external excursions during peak storm conditions, Vega cautioned. Noted, Dominic replied tersely as he secured his helmet. Keep monitoring the shield matrix. Alert me if integrity drops below 60%. The airlock cycled, and Dominic stepped into hell. The wind nearly knocked him off his feet despite the suit's stabilizers. Visibility extended barely 3 meters before dissolving into a swirling vortex of red. He activated his helmet's enhanced imaging system and followed the guideline toward maintenance hatch 7. The repair took nearly an hour, an eternity in the howling maelstrom. By the time he secured the final bolt, his muscles ached despite the exoskeleton's assistance. As he turned to follow the guideline back, something caught his attention, a disruption in the storm's pattern, a darker shape moving against the crimson backdrop. Not possible. Nothing lived on the surface of Proxima 6. The planet's atmosphere was hostile to all known forms of life, its surface bathed in radiation from its unstable stars. Yet the shape moved with purpose, staggering toward the outpost. Dominic froze, transfixed by the impossibility before him. The figure collapsed just meters away. Acting on instinct rather than reason, Dominic moved forward, reaching the fallen form. Up close, he could see it was humanoid but clearly not human. The environmental suit it wore was of unfamiliar design, torn in places to reveal pale blue skin beneath. The helmet's visor was cracked, allowing Proxima 6's toxic atmosphere to seep in. Vega, emergency protocol. Prepare decontamination chamber and medical bay, Dominic commanded, lifting the surprisingly light figure. Back inside the airlock, the decontamination sequence initiated automatically. As caustic particles were neutralized, Dominic carefully removed the damaged helmet from his unexpected visitor. He found himself staring at a face that was almost human, yet unmistakably alien. Delicate features framed by tendrils that resembled hair, but seemed to move with subtle undulations. The skin was a luminescent pale blue that shifted slightly in tone with each labored breath. Most striking were the eyes that fluttered open briefly, irises like liquid silver containing no pupil, only concentric rings that expanded and contracted as they tried to focus on him. Help, Me. The voice was melodic despite its weakness. The words clearly English, but with an accent Dominic couldn't place. Don't try to speak, he said, lifting her, for the form was distinctly female, and carrying her to the medical bay. The scanner struggled to make sense of her physiology. Unknown biological parameters, Vega announced. Closest analogous life. Form, none in database. Run basic diagnostics, Dominic ordered, removing the damaged environmental suit to reveal more of the strange blue skin beneath. An intricate pattern of slightly darker blue markings covered her shoulders and back. Not tattoos, but seemingly natural variations in pigmentation. Subject experiencing severe respiratory distress. Elevated cardiovascular activity. Evidence of cellular degradation consistent with radiation exposure. The alien woman grasped Dominic's wrist with surprising strength, her silver eyes focusing on him intently. They follow, she gasped. Hide me, please. Who's following you? What are you running from? Dominic asked, even as he administered oxygen and a broad-spectrum cellular regenerator, a shot in the dark given her unknown biology. Her only response was to slip back into unconsciousness, her hand falling limply to the examination table. For 3 hours, Dominic worked feverishly, applying every medical technique he knew, adapting treatments based on the alien's responses. Vega continuously monitored her vital signs, which gradually stabilized. Outside, the storm intensified, rattling the outpost's foundations. Shield integrity at 62%, Vega announced. Estimated 17 additional impact events, detected on outer perimeter. Analysis suggests these are not consistent with normal storm debris. Dominic looked up from his patient. Meaning? The impacts appear deliberate. High-velocity projectiles, likely weapons fire. A cold realization settled over him. They're hunting her. As if in response to his words, the alien woman's eyes opened. She sat up with a fluid grace that belied her previous weakness. You must let me go, she said, her voice stronger now, musical notes underlying each word. They will destroy this place to reach me. You're still recovering, Dominic countered, impressed by her rapid healing but concerned by the readings that showed ongoing cellular damage. And there's nowhere to go. The storm is preferable to what awaits if they capture me. She stood towering over him by at least 15 centimeters, her movements graceful despite her weakened state. At least tell me who you are, Dominic said, blocking her path to the door, and why someone is firing weapons at my outpost in the middle of a Category 5 storm. She studied him for a long moment, those silver eyes unreadable. My name is Naira. I was, an archivist of the Lysandrian Collective. Her hand moved to the markings on her shoulder. These patterns hold knowledge, dangerous knowledge. The hegemony wants what I carry. They will kill us both to obtain it. The hegemony, Dominic repeated. Lysandrian Collective? I've never heard of either. A sad smile crossed her face. Your species has only recently achieved interstellar travel. There are civilizations that have spanned the stars for millennia. Human. Some benevolent, others. She glanced toward the viewport where the storm raged. Less so. A proximity alarm blared through the outpost. Unidentified craft approaching, Vega announced. Configuration unknown. Weapon systems active. They've found me, Naira whispered, fear evident in her voice. Dominic made a swift decision. Vega, activate emergency protocols, lock down all entrances, redirect power to shields and initiate countermeasures. Complying, the AI responded. Metal shutters descended over the viewports while the hum of power increased throughout the facility. It won't stop them, Naira said, her luminescent skin dimming slightly. Nothing will. Then we make a stand, Dominic replied, moving to a wall panel that concealed a weapons locker. This outpost has defenses beyond standard scientific equipment. He removed a pulse rifle and tossed a smaller sidearm to Naira, who caught it with unexpected dexterity. Before my retirement, I served in the Earth Defense Force. This outpost was designed to withstand more than storms. Nira examined the weapon with familiarity. You don't understand what you're involving yourself in, human. Dominic, he corrected. If we're going to die together, you might as well use my name. For the first time, a genuine smile crossed her alien features. Very well, Dominic, but I would prefer neither of us dies today. The outpost trembled as something massive moved overhead. Through the reinforced ceiling, they could hear the whine of engines fighting against the storm. Echoes of ancient power. The luminescent glow from Nira's skin cast eerie shadows across the crystalline formations of the cavern as they descended deeper beneath the ruined outpost. Above them, the ground shook with the final death throes of Dominic's research facility, his life's work sacrificed in moments. The resonance patterns here, Nira murmured, her silver eyes widening as she studied the cave walls. They're similar to the sacred chambers on Lysandra Prime. Dominic activated a portable light source, sweeping its beam across the cavern floor. These formations weren't my primary research focus, but I've documented unusual energy signatures emanating from the deeper chambers. Something about the mineral composition disrupts standard scanning equipment. The cavern narrowed into a winding tunnel, forcing them to proceed single file. Condensation dripped from stalactites overhead, each droplet creating ripples of blue-green light where it struck the strange crystalline growths that lined their path. How much farther to the exit? Nira asked, her melodic voice tight with urgency. 3 kilometers, maybe 4, Dominic replied. The tunnel system branches extensively. I've only mapped about 60% of it. A distant rumble echoed through the passage, the final collapse of the outpost above. Dust and small fragments of rock showered down around them. That won't stop them for long, Nira said grimly. Hegemony enforcers are persistent. They'll detect our biosignatures once the interference from the explosion fades. Dominic nodded. Then we keep moving. They pressed onward in tense silence, each lost in their own thoughts. After nearly an hour of careful navigation through increasingly complex tunnel systems, they emerged into a massive underground chamber that took Dominic's breath away. Unlike the natural formations they'd passed through, this space bore unmistakable signs of intelligent design. Massive pillars carved from the living rock supported a domed ceiling at least 30 meters high. The walls were inscribed with intricate symbols that glowed faintly with the same blue-green luminescence they'd observed in the crystals. This wasn't in my maps, Dominic whispered, awestruck. How could I have missed this? Nira moved forward as if in a trance, her fingertips tracing the symbols on the nearest pillar. The markings on her shoulders began to glow in response, pulsing, in rhythm with the light emanating from the walls. It was hidden, she said softly, concealed from those who weren't meant to find it. Her silver eyes met his. Until now. What is this place? Dominic asked, scanning the chamber with growing wonder. A waypoint, Nira replied. One of many scattered across the galaxy. The architects, beings your kind might call gods, created them as anchors, stabilizing the fabric of reality at crucial intersections. Her hand moved to a central structure, a raised platform surrounded by what appeared to be control interfaces. This is how my people found our purpose as archivists. We discovered these sites, learned their secrets, became their caretakers. Dominic approached the platform cautiously. And the hegemony wants to control these waypoints? Why? Nira's expression darkened. Imagine being able to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within a localized area. Create pocket universes, manipulate time itself. She gazed up at the domed ceiling where a projection of unfamiliar stars slowly rotated. Power beyond comprehension, especially for those with conquest in their hearts. A distant sound echoed through the tunnels behind them, the unmistakable clanking of mechanical limbs against stone. They've found us, Dominic said, raising his pulse rifle. Nira's attention remained fixed on the central platform. There's no time. Her fingers danced across the ancient interface, activating systems dormant for millennia. The chamber hummed with awakening power. The waypoint can be sealed, but the process is complex. What do you need? Dominic asked, positioning himself at the chamber entrance, weapon ready. A resonance match. The waypoints respond to specific genetic markers, those who carry traces of the architect's legacy. She looked up at him, silver eyes intense. In my people, these markers express themselves through our bioluminescence and the pattern glyphs on our skin. The mechanical sounds grew closer, punctuated by the whine of energy weapons charging. I don't have bioluminescent skin or pattern glyphs, Dominic said, tension evident in his voice. No, Nira agreed. But there's something in you, Dominic. Something I sensed from our first contact. A resonance pattern that shouldn't exist in humans. She extended her hand. Trust me. The first enforcer appeared at the tunnel entrance, a nightmare fusion of organic and mechanical parts. Its humanoid form was encased in segmented armor, with optical sensors where eyes should have been. More followed, spreading out with military precision. Target located, announced the lead enforcer, its voice a synthetic approximation of speech. Surrender the archivist. Dominic fired his pulse rifle, the energy blast striking the lead enforcer's chest plate. The creature staggered but didn't fall. Naira, whatever you're going to do it now, he shouted, continuing to fire as he backed toward the central platform. Naira grasped his free hand, pulling him onto the platform. The moment they stood together at its center, the markings on her skin flared with blinding intensity. Energy coursed through their joined hands, and to Dominic's shock, patterns of blue-green light began to trace themselves across his skin. Identical to Nira's, but mirrored, complementary. Impossible, he gasped, watching as the light spread across his forearms and chest. Not impossible, Naira replied, her voice strained with concentration. Inevitable. The architects seeded countless worlds, leaving fragments of their essence to evolve naturally. Some bloodlines carried these fragments through the millennia, dormant until activated. The enforcers advanced, unmoved by the spectacle. Their weapons locked onto the platform. Final warning, the lead enforcer announced. Surrender or be terminated. Dominic felt something awakening within him. Knowledge that wasn't his yet somehow had always been part of him. Words in an unfamiliar language formed on his lips. When he spoke them, his voice resonated with Naira's in perfect harmony. By the authority of those who shape the void between stars, we seal this waypoint against corruption. The chamber trembled. Light erupted from the platform beneath them, expanding outward in concentric rings that passed through the advancing enforcers. Like ghosts through mist, where the light touched the mechanical soldiers, their systems failed. Organic components separating from synthetic parts as if rejecting each other at a molecular level. The lead enforcer continued forward despite its failing systems, determination driving it beyond its design limitations. It reached the edge of the platform, mechanical hand extending toward Naira. Dominic moved without thinking, placing himself between the creature and Naira. The enforcer's hand grasped his throat, mechanical fingers squeezing with inhuman strength. The knowledge will be preserved, it rasped, systems failing but purpose intact. Nira placed her hand on the enforcer's chest. Yes, it will, but not by you. Light poured from her palm, channeling through the creature and spreading to the others. One by one, the enforcers collapsed, their hybrid bodies separating into component parts. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of ancient machinery awakening fully. The platform beneath them began to rotate slowly, connecting to systems, dormant for epochs. Dominic rubbed his throat, staring at the patterns of light still flowing beneath his skin. What's happening to me? Your dormant genetics are expressing themselves, Naira explained, wonder in her voice. You carry the legacy of the architects, likely the result of their visit to Earth thousands of years ago. Her fingers traced the patterns on his arm. These markings are knowledge glyphs, encoded information passed through bloodlines. I don't understand, Dominic said, though part of him did. A deeper part awakening after a lifetime of slumber. Why now? Why me? The waypoints activate these dormant traits when necessary, Naira said. And as for why you... Her silver eyes softened. Perhaps because you needed it as much as I did. The platform beneath them pulsed with energy, and a holographic projection materialized above, a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with countless points of light marking what Dominic somehow knew were other waypoints. The network is re-establishing itself, Nira whispered, awe evident in her voice. It's been dormant since the architects departed our realm. Dominic studied the map, understanding flowing into him through the activated glyphs on his skin. The hegemony doesn't know about all of these, do they? No, Nira confirmed. They've discovered only a handful, which is why they hunted me so relentlessly. The knowledge I carry, we now both carry, is the key to the entire network. The holographic display shifted, focusing on a particular region. A pulsing red light indicated a massive concentration of hegemony forces. Their central command, Nira explained. They're preparing for a major offensive against the remaining free worlds. Dominic felt the weight of newfound responsibility settling over him. We can stop them. We can, Nira agreed, but it means leaving this place, leaving Earth behind. She met his gaze directly. The awakening can't be reversed, Dominic. The knowledge you now carry will make you a target forever. He thought about the life he'd left behind, the failures that had driven him to this remote outpost, the loneliness and self-imposed exile. Then he looked at Nira, this being from across the stars who had quite literally awakened something within him that he never knew existed. I don't think I was ever meant to stay here, he said finally. Perhaps that's why I felt drawn to this planet, to these caves. He gestured to the fallen enforcers. And now? Nira's expression was solemn. Now, we have a choice. We can seal this waypoint, disappear into the outer systems, hide from the hegemony. Or, Dominic prompted, already knowing the answer. Or we can awaken the entire network. Unite the remaining archivists scattered across the galaxy. Stand against the darkness that threatens to consume everything. Dominic looked at the patterns, flowing beneath his skin, knowledge and power he was only beginning to comprehend. He thought of Earth, unknowing and vulnerable to forces beyond its comprehension. I think we both know which choice we're making, he said. Nira smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the holographic stars spinning above them. Yes, I believe we do. She extended her hand, and Dominic took it without hesitation. Their paired glyphs pulsed in unison, sending a command through the ancient systems. The platform beneath them began to reconfigure itself, forming a transportation matrix. The nearest active waypoint is in the Cygnus arm, Nira said. We can gather allies there, before proceeding to the primary nexus. As the transportation sequence initiated, Dominic cast one last look at the chamber that had changed everything. For years he had hidden from his past, buried himself in isolation. Now, standing beside this otherworldly being, he felt purpose, flooding back, a reason to face the future, whatever it might hold. Are you ready? Nira asked softly. Dominic squeezed her hand, the complementary patterns of their skin glowing brighter where they touched. Lead the way, archivist. In a flash of blue-green light, they vanished, leaving behind the ruins of one life and stepping into the uncertain promise of another. The waypoint, awakened from its ancient slumber, began the process of concealing, itself once more waiting for the next bearers of the architect's legacy. The hunt had ended, but a greater journey had just begun.